Would you believe me if I told you that some of the biggest challenges in business are not actually business problems? They are emotional ones. As entrepreneurs, we talk constantly about strategy, about marketing, we talk about sales funnels and productivity systems and scaling. But how many of us are actually talking about the emotional health of the person leading the business? And if you are an entrepreneur, that person is you. Did you know that your business will always mirror the condition of the woman building it? And I'm saying woman because I generally coach women in business. But if you are a man, this applies to you as well. The business will always mirror the condition of the person building it. So that means if you are exhausted, the exhaustion will eventually show up in your leadership. If you are carrying unresolved trauma, it will spill into your decisions and into your culture. If you are constantly operating from the place of pressure or survival, your business will actually begin to reflect that as well. So, when we talk about building a business, a part of that conversation should be who is the person behind the business becoming? Because as you grow, your business will grow. When a woman begins to heal, every single thing connected to her begins to change. Her leadership changes, her relationships, platonic and otherwise, change, and her business changes as well. So, how about we have an open and honest conversation about this? Entrepreneur conversations focus on strategy, marketing, scaling, systems, productivity, um, very rarely emotional health. And let me tell you, as an entrepreneur, I can tell you firsthand that mental health is so important. We grapple with so many things on a constant basis. And the first one that we face is our mindset. And our mindset has been cultivated by our experiences. And that is exactly why we have to inspect our beliefs, know who we are, know who we want to grow into, and then work really hard on becoming that person because our private life will spill into our public or professional lives. And so we want to make sure that they are both aligned. Now, many women believe that their businesses have problems that are connected to processes, procedures, standards, that sort of thing. When in fact, the business is suffering because of emotional patterns that have not been addressed. And so today I want to have a conversation and bring more attention to the fact that mental support, mental clarity, emotional health are all vital components for the business person. The role that healing plays in a strong business is underrated. Um, when a woman begins to heal, every single thing connected to her elevates. She changes. And that's one of the things that my mentor taught me when we went through our 10-year mentorship journey. That before I could work on changing other people, I needed to work on changing myself. Because when I changed myself and my interactions in those environments changed, the people around me will also change. They'll change how they treat me, they'll change how they work together with me. And a lot of times we focus on changing other people, when in fact we need to turn the mirror on ourselves and focus on how we need to grow and evolve. One of the things that I've come to understand on my own journey and through the work that I've done with women is that the health of a business is deeply connected to the health of a person leading it. That's emotional health, the way we respond, the way we make decisions, the way we handle conflict, the way we choose partners, even the way we price our services. All of those things are connected and shaped by the emotional experiences we've carried over the years. I coach a young lady who is challenged to price her value. And she's challenged to price her value because as a child, she was often taught that she would not amount to anything. She was often ridiculed and belittled. And even though she is extremely gifted, her mindset is still stuck in the era of people telling her that she had no worth. That trauma was having an impact on her business. But through coaching and through reconditioning her thoughts and looking at the evidence, like let's just be real, entrepreneurship provides us with evidence. If you're having success, that is evidence. If you're having a small win, that is evidence. And so the negativity could be confronted by the truth, which is the evidence of our moving forward, of our successes, of every time we win, of every time we lose and grab the lesson. And so changing our mindset is extremely important because it impacts the way we lead business. Trauma does not only show up in our personal relationships, it spills into our business decisions as well. It causes us to overwork because somewhere along the line, we learned that our worth was connected to productivity, to results, how much we could produce. And so we shift into this overworking gear to prove our excellence because it made us feel worthy. Sometimes it also causes us to accept opportunities or partnerships that we know are not aligned because we are afraid of losing the opportunity. One of the things that I've streamlined in the year 2026 is making sure that my yes is aligned. There are a lot of emotions behind decisions. If you are a people pleaser, you don't want to let people down. If you are an overachiever, you want to keep moving, keep doing. If you are someone that's focused on social media, you want people to see that you're being booked and you're doing this and you're doing that, but at the expense of truly operating your business. Some opportunities and partnerships should be declined because they will not all align with your business. But more than that, they will not align with your values. And there are times when our trauma causes us to avoid conversations or boundaries because we fear rejection or conflict. Conflict is a part of life. We won't get along with anybody in our lives 100% of the time. And so we must learn to handle conflict in a way that allows each person to be heard, whether that's leader and employee, whether that's husband and wife. The relationship itself does not matter. What matters is that you look at the trauma that tells you that you have to quiet your voice. You look at the trauma that tells you that it's better to avoid something than to address it, and you deal with the trauma. Because when these patterns go unexamined, they begin shaping the direction of our business. This is so powerful right here. But guess what? Healing interrupts those patterns. Healing gives you clarity. It allows you to really pause and ask better questions because you've moved forward. Healing allows you to make decisions from a place of stability versus a place of trigger or responding to traumas or proving. So, when I talk about the fact that when a woman begins to heal emotionally, it changes her business, I want you to believe that because the more emotionally grounded she is, the more aware of her triggers she becomes, the more intentional she becomes about the choices that she's making and the environments that she's allowing herself to enter in. Now, the trickle down effect is when a woman does that, her business benefits because the business now has a stronger, more stable leader. The business has a clear thinker, a woman who no longer is simply reacting to life, but is intentionally building the life she wants. She becomes a woman who is transforming in so many different ways. And I've seen this transformation happen many times with women who are willing to do the inner work. But here's the challenge: most women are not willing to do that inner work. Most women are more interested in turning this mirror toward other people versus turning it at themselves and taking a look at how they truly show up. Because this here takes courage. It takes courage to look at the person in the mirror, to see how she is being triggered, to see how she is showing up instead of blaming other people. Some women think that, oh, it may be too time consuming to pause, look in the mirror, and do the inner work. But the reality is, if you put the time in and it's done, everything around you increases and it allows you to operate on a higher level. Now, as I look at the women in my life now, and even the women who were in my life in times past, in my circle, in my family, some of the commonalities I see is that we spend most of our lives pouring into other people. We pour into our children, into our spouses, into our families, into our communities. We pour into our work, into our church, into our civic organizations. We carry so many responsibilities in so many different directions that we rarely stop long enough to ask ourselves how we are actually doing, what we are truly feeling, or even deeper than that, what is it that we really want to do with our lives? And when a woman pauses long enough to reflect, she can spend years moving ahead without ever asking herself whether the direction she is moving in is fully aligned with who she is becoming, because she created the pathway by doing the inner work. And that's why spaces for reflection are so important. And since I'm here, let me just talk about spaces like Coffee and Conversations that I created to be a safe space for women. I am not one of those women who talk women empowerment or women supporting women and then go do mean things. No, I don't represent that. I'm not the type of woman who says women support women and then go on social media and judge other women or berate other women or say nasty jokes about women, not recognizing that that contradicts being a woman who is empowering other women. If you are out there and you see a woman whose weave is crooked, instead of running to social media talking about women's dusty weaves, how about you just fix her weave, sis? And be supportive. That's the type of woman that I am. And so I've cultivated a space, a safe space, where women can step away from the demands of their roles and simply sit with themselves for a few moments. Last year, a woman, her name is Monique, she attended Coffee and Conversations, and she shared something with me last year that still sticks with me today. It stayed with me after the session. And when I think about Coffee and Conversations, I think about Monique, I think about Kizzy, I think about Ethelyn, I think about Jackie, I think about these women who have embraced this safe space. I think about Christine. These are all women who have walked into Coffee and Conversations and have shared that they felt warm, they felt welcome, they felt peace, they felt safe, and they had not expected that level of safety. And for Monique, as she sat in that session, she shared that she had a realization that she was always giving and serving other people. And she never really took the time to sit and listen to herself. And at Coffee and Conversation, she started truly thinking about who she was and who she wanted to be and what she wanted out of life. She explored this conversation with other women who were in that same space, having similar realizations and discoveries. And there was no judgment, just pure support. And that's what I love about the women who attend Coffee and Conversations. There's no pretenses. We all show up and share. And so Monique told me that she's now intentionally working on getting to know herself better. And that encouraged me so much. And it made me realize that spaces like Coffee and Conversations are crucial for women where they can be safe. She told me how grateful she was that she came out because she saw the ad. She didn't know anybody in the room, and she decided that she would give it a try. She took a bet on herself, and she found a space where she could begin the journey of self actualization, self discovery, and evolution. That, my sister, is the power of community. Healing very rarely happens in isolation. Now, if you've been in my conversations long enough, you know that I am a believer. And even the Bible tells us that in isolation is the devil's work. In isolation, the enemy has the opportunity to get into our minds because we are not being fed by a supportive community that contradicts what he says. So healing really happens in isolation. As a matter of fact, growth really happens in isolation. And most women need a space where they can reflect honestly, they can speak openly, and they can be supported as they grow. I am so happy for my inner circle because just 2 years ago, one of my inner circle members reached out to me and she said, "Hey, what's happening? I see it's like you're stalling. You set some goals, but it looks like you're stalling. And I'm kicking you into accountability." And I was so glad that she did that because she has a safe space to say, "Hey, pull back the veil and take a look at what you're doing versus what you've set out to do." We all need that in our lives because when we begin to change, everything connected to us changes. A healed woman makes decisions differently. She walks away from situations that no longer serve her growth. She builds with focus and she understands that her worth was never tied to having more than she can carry. We don't have to prove that we are worthy. Her worth is always connected to who she is becoming. You were born worthy, sis. And it's time that we drop the weight. It's time that we let go of the things that are shackling us from not being the best and highest versions of ourselves. And when we think about growth, we may think about this complex thing. But sometimes growth is just about sitting down, taking a breath, and asking yourself an important question: who am I becoming? And a follow-up question: what kind of life do I want to build? If you are a woman who feels like you've been pouring into everyone else, you have not had the space where you can pause and reflect on your own journey, I want you to know that you don't have to do this work alone. Coffee and Conversations is there for you as a first step. This is for women who are the strong ones, women who are the capable ones, women who are carrying a lot of baggage, trauma, hurt, and pain. But this is also for the woman who deserves space to breathe, to reflect, to heal, and to grow. Because the better you become, the stronger everything you build will be. The most powerful investment you can make is in healing and growing the woman behind the vision. So, will you be in this room? Now, you may be asking, Coach Duquesa, when is this? This is happening on Saturday, March 28th at 9 a.m. There is an investment in yourself, and that investment is $75. And you have a 100% guarantee that you always receive more value than you pay for at Coffee and Conversations. Come, learn from two dynamic entrepreneurs who are going to be talking about how they built their businesses from scratch, how they failed, how they succeeded. Because one of the best ways that we could get ahead in life is learning from the lessons of others and not making the same pitfalls. So in the room will be Kim Wallace, owner of Template. In the room will be Keandra Gardner, who is the vice president of Zema Group of Companies and Island Pearls. They're going to be sharing their nuggets, and then we're going to be engaging in healing circles. I'd love to see you in this room. $75 and a sacrifice of your time on Saturday, March 28th brings you into an environment where other women will embrace you. So if you want to be in the room, comment below, inbox me, or use the link that I'm going to share right now to reserve your spot. Pay and reserve your spot. Lock it in and be in this room. Andrea, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I see you saying yes, yes, yes. Let's drink coffee. Thank you so much. You are one of the women. I think you've been to all of the Coffee and Conversations as well. And I've had some breakthroughs. And I thank you for showing up and for trusting the space to help you on your entrepreneur journey. I look forward to seeing many of you. Actually, not too many, because we do have a cap. The space must remain intimate so that women feel free to contribute. So we only have a limited amount of spots available. So make sure that you claim yours early. And I look forward to seeing you there. Until then, take care. And remember, God loves you, and so do I.